Hey y'all, Fat Man Outdoors. Want to talk to you about something. I'm out here today in the shop. These are 45 long Colt cases that I'm cleaning up. I just ended up with another judge coming in to my possession in a little deal that I made with somebody. And I'm going to make some special loads for it. I'm going to load some 252 grain semi-wad cutters for it over charge. We're not going to talk about the amounts or anything at the moment, but I'm going to be setting it over red dot. Okay, and a lot of people, yeah, that's safe, and some people just absolutely freak out. It's too fast, can't do it, especially in a judge. Wall's too thin. Don't want it. You do you, I'll do me. What I want to talk to you about today is I've got some brass here. That's mixed brass. There's 4 or 5 different brands. Some has cantilures, as you can see, like this one has cantilever right there. You can see it. Some doesn't have cantilures, like this right here doesn't have cantilever. But what I've got is, I've got some that's got some corrosion. I'm not 100% sure where I came up with these cases. I really never even really looked into doing anything with 45 long Colt in a long time. I know I've got a lot of different calibers of cases laying around in different places. So when I traded for this one, I decided, okay, I'm going to look and see what I can find. Well, lo and behold, I found a couple hundred 45 long Colts. And for the most part, most of them are really good. You know, there's some discoloration. Try to get this where you can see it. Well, it's hard for me to see if you're seeing what I'm seeing. Come on, camera, where you at? There you are. Sorry, I'm not entirely stupid, but trying not to be. You can see that little bit of discoloration on the case. There's some more. You can see right there, dark spots. That's not too bad. Okay, but I have some that I looked on YouTube just to check before I did this, and there's not a lot of discussion about go or no go for corrosion on brass cases. You have to kind of come up with your own thing. On steel, I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot to figure it out. If it's rusted and it's steel, chuck it. Don't use it. It's not worth putting it in there and embedding rust into your chamber and having a chance of getting a stuck case, because if you do, you better have the right stuff to do to get it out, or you're going to have to be spending some money with somebody like me. But anyway, but when you have cases that look like this, and this is after about 4 hours in a tumbler with really good media, it shined the rest of the case up really good, except for those corrosion spots. Now, little ones, such as these, I don't really care about. But that one, being right in the middle of the wall of the case, and I can feel it. And you can hear it when I scratch it. And that's after about 4 hours of being in there. You can still see scarring from that. That is a brand new case. It's never loaded. Wherever I got it from, I don't know, but it was already primed. But it's never been used. It's never fired. But it got corrosion on it from somewhere, and I'm going to guess it was like that when I got it, probably, because I trade for a lot of stuff like that. But I'm not going to use it. Some people might say, oh, that case is just fine. Now, if all you're going to shoot is really light loads, probably. I'm not going to throw that away, because I've got some interesting loads I'm going to try to do with that judge that's going to be really, really low pressure. So that being the case, I might use one like that. But see, as you can see, brand new shiny case, got a little discoloration, but look at this when I roll it over. Look at that. Now guys, that's a no-go, and that is lumpy when you rub your finger down it. I mean, it's really bad, really, really bad. You can't see any scarring from the inside. Here's, like I said, on the videos on YouTube that I watched, I couldn't find anything where somebody would definitively say, if you're a new guy to reloading and you don't know what's going on, look for this, and if you see this, don't use it. Well, here I'm going to give you that in the fat man's opinion. All right. If you can take your fingernail and you can feel a terrain change, what I call it, in that brass. If you rub your fingernail up and down a good section of brass with no discoloration and no corrosion on it, you'll feel it's just smooth as glass. But if you take your finger and you rub it up and down on that corroded area and you can feel that, don't use it. It's not worth the risk. If you've only got enough cases where you've got to load that one because it's life-threatening, then you probably need to get out of there, because you're only going to have enough to do just that, just get out of there. Don't use it. Chuck it. It's not worth it. Now, I have some here. This is an older Federal, and it's got a little bit, but you can't really feel it. It's not really what I would call corrosion, but it's just a serious discoloration. You can see that pretty much all the way around the case. Now, I'm going to say this case has been fired several times, and more than likely, most of that is caused by soot. Now, you can even see spots on it right there where it would look like it's corrosion, but that's, you can't feel it when you scratch it with your finger. Okay, you can't feel it at all. Now, another thing, if you have a place that's got one like that one that we just had, or I'll use this one as an example, this one right here, that if you can't feel it, because you could barely feel this one where the corrosion was. If you can't feel it, or you can just barely feel it, it's probably going to be okay. But here's a second test. Take your thumbnail, push in really hard, right in the middle of that area that had the discoloration. And if you can make a dent in that whatsoever, then that means that corrosion is eating down into the wall of the case, and you don't want to use that, because if that case blows out in your cylinder, it could blow your cylinder up. It's at least going to cause some crazy pressure spikes, and some stuff's going to go in wrong directions, and you don't want that. Especially if you got a cheaper made firearm, or an old firearm, or something like the Judge that's supposedly made to shoot 45 long colt, but they do have thin cylinder walls, so it's not worth taking a chance. I mean, it's too easy to get brass these days. That losing one or two cases because it's questionable is okay, but one like this, I will use it in a specialty load that I'm going to make, and I'll tell you what that is. I'm going to make some shot shells with some of these 45 long cases out of number 6 shot, just snake shot. And you say, well, why don't you just go buy some 410 gauge shotgun shells for this? Okay, well, the one I have is only chambered for the 2.5 inch. And I don't know about where you live, but where I live, finding the 2.5 inch 410 gauge shotgun shells to fit the Judge that isn't absolutely stupid expensive is about to tick me off. All these folks have got places that sell ammunition, and majority of the time you go in and try to find something that you want, it's not there anymore. You know, and if it's there, you better get it, because tomorrow if you come back, you might not get it whatsoever. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now, here's one other thing I want to touch on while I'm in here, and I'm really hoping y'all can see this, because this is something you need to see. Can you see the bulge in that case right above the head, right there? I hope you can see that. Yeah, you can see it right there. It's about 1/8 of an inch above the head of the case. Now, this has happened one of two ways. Number one, it's been shot in a cylinder that had a oversized cylinder, and the round was just never resized. It's a good possibility, because this one still has a fired primer in it. Now, if you start having this issue when you're doing reloading, if you start having that bulge, you don't want that. You know, it potentially may or may not cause an issue with chambering, depending on what kind of gun you have. Most of the time it won't, but you can see there's another one right here, and it has a bulge. And it's the primer's been knocked out of this one, so I don't know if somebody resized it or not. But I've got several cases laying around that's like that has that bulge. And what that bulge does is it could cause you an issue with chambering when you're trying to put it in your chamber, that it just won't go in. But when you're resizing, if you notice, you're still having that bulge. If you're not pushing that bulge out, then you may have full length resizing die that's not going all the way down. So what you may have to do is you may have to get a thinner shell holder. They make ones that are not quite as thick, so that the resizing die can go down farther, closer to the head. Or you may have to buy a resizing die that is got the cut off bottom, not the beveled bottom, because if you look on some of them, they got a beveled bottom, so there's actually a space about a 1/16 or an inch or so that doesn't go all the way down to the head of the case. But you can buy specialty ones that are cut off level. But a lot of the newer die sets, they got the carbide insert, so it's all the way down anyway. So you're going to eliminate that pretty much altogether. But then if you're reloading and you're using a Lee factory crimp die, that when you put the crimp and you go all the way down, then that carbide insert in the bottom of the crimp die is also going to take some of that bulge out. Again, the bulge may potentially not cause an issue, but it could potentially cause an issue, and you don't want it. You don't want it to not chamber. You want every round that you load to function, because you got time into this, and you never know. One day that round, that one with the bulge in it, may be the one you need right then at that moment. And you don't want it to fail. You don't want it to not go in the weapon or not be able to come out of the weapon when you need to put a fresh load in. But guys, I just wanted to touch on that. I'd kind of looked on YouTube this morning when I was sorting through these, and nobody would really definitively come out and say, use this or don't use this. It was kind of like, be your own guide, use your own discretion. Well, stuff like this is a good old steel case, 556 or 223, I guess what it is. And see that little spot of rust. Now that little spot of rust, I can feel it, and I can even scratch it and change colors on it. I'm not going to use that if I don't have to. Guys, this is the Fat Man. Hope to see y'all in the next video. I'm gone.